Good morning and welcome, everyone. It is 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which means it is time for our List Like a Boss Pulse monthly webinar. There's a lot of words in there. Obviously, every month we're bringing free detailed real estate training to our entire community. And then, of course, that is through our amazing Pulse program that we have with Keller Williams Maps. Excited to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects in the entire planet, which is closing. We're going to take a deep dive into closing techniques, how to close at the listing, how to maximize this opportunity. So when you get there, right, when you get to that you do this amazing presentation and you're at that final point, we don't freeze up. We don't lose that chance. We don't go, oh, just call me tomorrow, and if you decide it's the right fit, we'll move forward. That we leave every single appointment with a signature, right? That's how we make a living as professional listing agents, is we leave every single appointment with a signed agreement. So we're going to cover a lot, but that's going to be the main focus. So if you don't like closing, then I don't know, enjoy the ride, but that's what we're going to be doing today. So for those that I haven't had a chance to meet in person, my name is Brendan Bartic. I've been selling residential real estate for about 20 some odd years. I've sold over $1 billion in real estate, and about 95% of that has come from listings. So I have over 10,000 hours of expertise in this subject, and so hopefully I can pass on some of that expertise to you today. In the chat box, I love the chat box. I'll be monitoring that, and so will my team, to make sure that we answer any of your questions. If you also want to talk to me, which I love because it makes me feel like I'm not talking to a screen, you can raise your hand. We'll come off mute. There's no dumb questions that we can possibly have, but everyone's going to want to try to know exactly what we're doing here. So just let us know and we'll come off mute and we'll get those addressed as best we can. All right, let's have some fun here. So how do you become a top listing agent, right? Like, first, we're going to take a quick dive into the mindset, the formula, the techniques that we use. And then there's a 4-step process that we follow. But today's 4th step is what we're going to primarily focus on, which is the close. Hey, Ben, how's it going? Thank you. So we're going to jump in here. Before I teach or show you anything, we have to make sure we are compliant and following all TPCA rules and regulations. Please do not call anybody on the do not call list. We are going to be using some words in this presentation that have the word commission in it. As we know, as it always has been since the dawn of time, all commission rates are variable. There is no any type of, anyway, all commission rates are variable. Read the warning, stay safe, ask your managing broker or an attorney, take a DNA test, whatever you got to do, stay safe out there, but we're going to jump in. All right. So we're going to talk about a formula, right? Listings are a formula. The way that we operate in our business is a formula. And the more that we can understand that all of our success comes from a formula, the better that we can get into this rhythm. Now, I always tell people, if you haven't read the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, this is where a lot of this formula comes from. This formula has built companies like Apple, Marriott, Tesla. They all follow this same formula. So I want to make sure that if it works for them, it's worked for so many other top agents, then it should work for us and it's going to work for you. But you have to adopt it. So the first thing we always talk about, of course, is clarity. So I know some of you were in our 6-week boot camp yesterday, and we talked about this, getting clarity on what you want. We're not going to have time today in this session to go all the way deep as we do in our 6-week deep dive, but in the chat box, I want you to put how many listings you are going to sell in 2024. So go ahead and do that now. This isn't a podcast. This is a class. This is interactive. Thank you, Macy. Patrick, awesome. So Tanya's got hers. Thank you, Cynthia. Excellent, excellent. All right, now they're pouring in. We're getting, all right, great. So now, as we get into this mindset of clarity, that's a huge, huge part. I always ask, why? So next thing in the chat box, so Joe, you said 30. Why 30? Brenna, why 12? People are probably typing right now. Um, why, Stacy, why 25? Sydney, why 12? It's not rhetorical. So you can put that in the chat box, please, or come off mute, whatever gets your fancy. Because I want to influence, I love this, Keith, because I want to influence my office to sell more homes. Keith's like, I'm going to lead the charge, and when I do it, that'll get everyone doing it as well. I love that. 25 to 30 transactions to net 100K. Okay, Jaylene, okay, I get that. That kind of making sure you're reverse engineering the money that you want to make and then how many deals you need to do to be able to produce that. Excellent, I love that. Just starting to farm, Sydney says, okay. So my goal is to help 5 families. So again, the reason I ask this is, and thank you, these are all, and thank you for your participation and your honesty. What we want to make sure that we are crystal clear on is without the why being very strong, the how doesn't really have any gas to fuel it. So we talked about in our Pulse program on Tuesday about getting clear on exactly what you want in your career and exactly what you're going to go after to accomplish it. But it's no different when we talk about listings. If you know that you want to sell 12 listings, let's get really specific on the why. I want to sell 12 listings to make X amount of money to do X for my family, my philanthropy, my legacy, myself, right? Maybe you just want to, why are you doing this? But make sure you get really clear on the why of what you're doing, because when these days get tough, and you're going to have tough days, you're going to have listings that blow up on you. You're going to go on an appointment and thought you did everything right, and that people just go, yeah, no, we're good. I'm not trying to be negative. We're going to eliminate that as happening as much as possible. But if you don't have the why so clear, then it's hard to take this emotional damage that we receive. And we do take a lot of emotional stress being a professional listing specialist. So I want to make sure, have that statement clear, have that statement visual, have that number. I want you to always have this too. It can't be I'm going to sell 25 to 30. It can't be I'm going to sell 55 to 70. It has to be an exact number that you know exactly how many appointments you need to have hit that number, that you know exactly how many conversations you need to have the appointments to hit that number. And again, be so clear on it that once you drive all those numbers, right? We call them your seven vital signs. Once you have your 7 vital signs, you are just laser locked, right? Locked on it. Then it's not an option. It's not, yeah, I'd like to hit 12. I'd like to hit 15. I'd like to hit 6. Maybe you're brand new and you're going, hey, look, I only want to do 3, or I have a part-time job, or whatever it is. Are you crystal clear? If not, after this session, take the time to get there. And then please, please, please make it visual. Make it visual. See it every day. If your number's 24, then your lockbox code should be 2424. If it's 36, your change the keypad on your garage door to 3636. I want you to be so dialed into that number. It's everything. You're infatuated with it. That's what the serious professionals do. And that's the difference maker that I see in that formula of the lack of clarity. All right. So in the chat box, say yes, we're going to do this, please. Thank you. I love it, Jaylene. Thank you very much. That's awesome. All right. Clarity is, remember, write this down. Average lives in the vague. Average lives in the vague. The more vague we are about what we want, the more average results the world produces for us. I love it. LFG, baby, let's go. Let's go. That's awesome. So again, we don't want to be vague and we don't want to be average. We only have a short time on this earth. Average, not for me, not for you. Cool? All right, let's move forward. So the next thing, now that we know, we have clarity on how many listings we are going to have success with, right? We know it, we see that number, we're in love with that number. We've got to make sure we're crystal clear on the two. Oh, that's a new screen. Look at a little side head action there. There we go. There we go. We have to be crystal clear on exactly the amount of conversations it's going to require in the ambassadors. So write this down. I can only control my lead measures. I can only control my lead measures. And what we mean by lead measures is my activities. You can't control, you can put a goal of 24 listings, but you can't wake up today and go, you know what? I'm gonna take a listing today. No, you cannot do that. That is not possible. You can control the activities that lead to the result, which is taking a listing. So in the chat box, you had your number of how many you're going to sell. How many conversations do you need to have about selling this year to make that number a reality? Go ahead and put that in the chat box now. Jalen says 250. Okay, gotcha. Macy 600. Excellent. We're seeing some people go, and it's also fair to go, I don't know. That's why you're here. If you're going, I don't really know how many conversations, that's okay. Like some of you are just like, 1,000 sounds dope. Maybe I'll just throw 1,000 up in there. Yeah, I love it, Michael. I don't know. That's honest. Help. Yeah, right. So just quick numbers, and then we're going to move on to get into some closing fun. Remember, if you don't know your numbers, that's why we track numbers. We've been doing this a long time. I mean, we're talking years and years and years, 15 plus years of tracking numbers. 50 conversations, good or bad, about buying or selling real estate to set one listing appointment. 50. That's what we've seen across the average. I mean, it's been like 46, it's been like 55. Now, when I say 50, that's because, remember, what is a conversation? I call an expired and I give my whole sales conversation pitch, and they go, no, thank you, hang up on me. Takes 2 seconds. That's one conversation. One. So in tracking this for our entire organization, we have people that are really, really, really good on the phone and really good at door knocking. Their numbers closer to like 25, 20, right? 20 conversations per appointment set. We have people that are also brand new, haven't been in this game very long. Theirs might be as high as 75, 80 because they're getting the hang of it. They're having new conversations. They're calling random people. They don't have deep relationships built with their database yet, which we're going to talk about, which is what an ambassador is. So if you don't know your number, that's a problem because you want to fall in love with that number. What we want to do is simplify this so much that we don't have to think about it. We wake up every day and go, got to talk to 13 people today. 13 people, sell 24 listings, 46 weeks of doing that consistently, save time for appointments in the afternoons, and obviously maximize my weekends. Or if you're in my world, the way that I had the most success is my weekend was Monday and Tuesday, because I worked every Saturday and Sunday because my mindset was work when others won't to have what others want. So depending on how your mindset works, right? But you got to decide on that schedule. Also, I get it, kids, and you have to have a family and wives and husbands and significant others and all that fun stuff. So don't go home and be like, well, Brendan said I got to work Saturdays and Sundays, so screw you, lady, we're out of here, right? Like that's not going to fly. So that was aggressive too. Gosh, screw you, lady. I don't know if I would ever say that. But anyway, didn't swear. Hey, Maps, look at me, not swearing, pretty good. So anyway, so conversations. If you don't know your number, but now you know every day what to do and how to do it. Now, the second number you want to fall in love with is we don't want to have to do a lot of new business. We want to do business with people that like us, love us, and that aren't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? Cold internet business, cold calls, expireds, freak by owners, for sale by owners, right? Oh, it's terrifying, right? We want to do it in the beginning and then never have to do it in the long run. So what we have to do is create ambassadors. And please write this down. Every 6 ambassadors equals 1 closed sale a year. And then you got to circle that and then go, if they're on 46 touches or more. 46 touches a year, right? Now, we don't have time to deep dive. This isn't the ambassador class. We have plenty of classes. We have a YouTube channel. Go to Brendan Bartic Coaching's YouTube channel. We have, if you want to learn all about ambassadors and all of these things, knock yourself out there. But we got to have ambassadors, people that love us, that we have built personal relationships with, that feel that they are special in our database, and then they will do business with us and refer business to us so that we don't have to have so many conversations. So in the beginning, you might have to be doing 60 conversations per appointment set, 50, 40, 30, 20, right? I know some people that are in the 10s, 10 conversations per an appointment. That's where you want to live, okay? Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I'm doing the right things here. Cool. So now we know that's a piece of the formula. We start with clarity. We break down that big rock into tiny little pebbles, and then we put those pebbles in the jar every single day, and then we make a lot of money, all right? So third, we got to track it with scoreboards. If we don't have a scoreboard, we can't know if we're getting better, worse, or terrible. So people get so tired of me saying this. I know on my team, but they love me, so they're probably going to still listen to this, right? Daily, weekly, monthly. Now, we're going to put in the chat box our free scoreboard for you to start utilizing. You put the front side and the back side together, laminate that puppy, get a dry erase marker, and as you're going through your day and you're having conversations about buying or selling real estate, you're marking it off. The visual keeps it honest. It keeps it real. It's not going to lie to you. You're not going to go 3 days from now and go, I think I talked to 7 people. No, maybe it was 6. I don't really know, right? I don't remember. Also, what I recommend is if you're not using a system that tracks calls or a dialer or something like this, you know what you have is your phone tells you every recent call you've made. It doesn't lie. So you go to your recent calls and you want to double check your work, you can do it for an entire week and be like, okay, calls. Now, if you have the same one to your tender date or whatever it is, right, you're going to exclude those, right? We're just going to be focusing on real estate calls. But it's all right there. But imagine, and I'm going to ask this question, how much do you make for every conversation you have, good or bad, about buying real estate? Put that in the chat box if you know your number. How much do you make for every conversation you have, either good or bad, about buying or selling real estate? Thank you, Macy. I love that. $29. Natalie, $57.50. I love it. Tanya's at $15. And these amazing ladies, and these are religious, that's the right word, ritualistic people that track their numbers. I don't say it because it has nothing to do with religion. Ritualistic, they're very consistent about it. They know this number. And I'm not going to put Macy on blast, but Macy just turned 21 years old. She's making $29 for every conversation she has about buying or selling real estate. That's pretty impressive. So I won't say enough about it, right? Natalie crushing $57.50 for her family. Tanya with $15. John, $29. I don't know yet, right? Some of us don't know. You would know if you had your numbers in a digital analyzer, and at the end of every 90 days, you took how much you made, divided by how many calls you had, how many conversations you had. That's a very exciting number to know, to be motivated about. It wake you up in the morning. If you know right now, Tanya or Natalie knows every time somebody hangs up on her that tells her to go F herself, she gets $57.50. Good or bad. Remember, it's not a good conversation only, good or bad. Now, as I said, I started out at 0, went to 5, 10. The highest I ever got was almost 1,000. I was like $975 per conversation. I had at the time, I think, $390,000 in pending commission, in pending GCI. Right? So, and I'm no rocket scientist. Obviously, everyone knows that, right? Tanya, you have a question?
I don't know if I missed when you said it, but how do you know how many conversations it takes to set an appointment? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, so we tracked that. Great question, Tanya. So tracking the team for the longest time, we knew from people setting their appointments and tracking the numbers in the analyzer that it was 50. 50 on average. And I round up, like right now, it's even like 49.2, when we took a look at all of the appointments and then all that. It's about 203 right now per closing. So that kind of makes sense, right? 4 appointments to 1 closing, 50 conversations per appointment, 200 conversations per 1 closing. And people go, why 4 appointments to 1 closing? Well, again, in this appointments, you also have buyers because you're going to talk to buyers as well. So sometimes you've gone on buyer consultations, buyer appointments, they haven't closed yet. Sometimes you go on a listing and the seller is not realistic and you walk out of that listing and not take it. Sometimes the listing cancels, doesn't sell, all of those things. But I love this conversation, Tanya, because everyone's going to know a lot more as they get deeper and deeper into their tracking. But yeah, that's a great question. So, okay, so now we're getting there. You're like, he's not talking about listings. Well, I can show you the best techniques on earth. If the activities don't match the techniques, it's like it's a waste of time. You're not going to. I could sit here and show you every secret sauce on earth. You don't get in a consistent rhythm, what we call a cadence of success. Cadence meaning rhythm, left, right, oh, left, right? It's a cadence. It's a constant progression to get us to where we need to go, right? All right. So the last piece is that we know in our Pulse program that we build businesses 1 week at a time. Right? Just like at the gym. I want to bench press 500 pounds. I got to start with 5 pounds first. Otherwise, I come in and try to bench 500. I'm going to break my sternum or my chest or whatever it is and die. So we're going to get into the gym. We're going to every week go from 5 pounds, 7 pounds, 9 pounds, 15, 25 until we're jacked, right? So it's the same thing in our business. We're going to get jacked in our real estate business. So we're going to win this 1 week at a time, all right? So now we're going to get into a very, very detailed part of a very big process that I'm going to really try to break down in the next half hour-ish and then answer questions. So what we're saying is close every time and onboard your clients into a program with an onboarding agreement. Now, we have steps in our program, a lot of different steps in our program, but I'm going to talk about today, we're going to win this week by getting good at the close. Right? There's 4 steps here, but we're going to close like champions and we're going to talk everything about how to close in the next 30 minutes. All right. So in that, fancy graphics, the 4 components of our wonderful program is pre-appointment, at the appointment, at the table, at the close. Right? So there's 4 components that all are equally important to make sure you're a top listing specialist. Today, we're going to be talking about component 4. So in our List Like a Boss Master Series, you can come and learn all 4 in depth. We have live trainings here in Colorado that people have flown all over the country to join us for. So if you're not on our Facebook group, just check that out and you can see where to get all that awesome information. All right. So at the close, let's talk about it. Now, as we get into this, the biggest piece that we have to understand as we close is I'm going to show you a technique. I'm going to show you a document that we really are passionate about. Now, to understand this, I've always got to warn people, got to take this devil off your shoulder, which is the devil going, this wouldn't work for me. This would not work in my county. This would not work in my state. Blah, blah, blah. This is not possible. It is possible. We've had agents in Canada, we've had agents in Mexico, we've had agents in every state utilize this technique. The only challenge you're going to have is figuring out how it works for you. But it does work, okay? Now, what I'm talking about, and if you haven't already written down that word, onboarding agreement. So I want to start with just the mindset of that for just a moment and talk about what that means when we say onboarding agreement before I actually go in and show it to you. Now, when I'm talking onboarding agreement, what we are looking at and what we are talking about is that we are really focused on language. When I mean language is every word that we say, the word contract. Contract is a scary word. Listing contract. We used to then go listing agreement. We used to go listing documents, all of this. So when we talk about our onboarding, when we mean onboarding, right? Instead of going, hey, I need you to sign this agreement, we're at the final piece, they're about to put pen to paper. All of this was designed, thank you, Desiree, yeah, because the verbiage is so important. We're trying to take something very spooky and scary, like a 19-page here in Denver listing agreement, and we're trying to not make it scary, and we're trying to maximize the relationship while we're there in person, and we're trying to maximize the time. Because I sat through thousands of listing appointments explaining a lengthy listing contract or agreement upside down. I had memorized it page by page, highlighting each section, pointing this, and then the verbiage was written in Mandarin and all of these things that was complicated to explain to the seller. And it was exhausting. And then I'll give credit where credit's due. I met with an extremely talented agent from Lance Loken's team down in Houston, Texas, and they were doing like 1,000 units at the time. And one of his lead agents was doing like 300 listings a year. And I said, come again? Like, I go, how? I knew how hard it was for me to do 130, 140. I thought, well, I used to have a beautiful head of hair. I mean, it was lovely, but it crushed me, right? I ended up having a nervous breakdown, woke up in Vegas, wasn't taking calls from anyone. I kind of just snapped. I had like 56 active listings at the time. So that didn't work. And it was because there was things to the system that weren't tweaked correctly. And once I understood how she was doing it and how she was every single appointment, leaving that appointment, they called it a commit to sell instead of an onboarding agreement. So they gave us our first rendition of this called the commit to sell. And it was a one-page document. And this concept was, well, what if you could use a one-pager to get them to agree to work with you at the close that was warm and fuzzy and cute and cuddly. And then now you have a handshake, a handshake at the closing table, that piece of paper. You have a key for the lockbox. Your lockbox is now on the door. And now we can go and send them all of the documents via whatever, we use CTM, but whatever Docu.loop or DocuSign or whatever company you use, with explanations and videos that explain the documents, or not even that, just send them the documents because you've already explained a lot of this during the presentation. And then if they have questions, they sign that. That blew my mind. I was like, well, that seems risky. And I go, is that one-page document even viably legal? We're going to talk about that, right? Like what, all of these different things. And what we found was, if we, and please write this down, remove the friction. If I can remove the friction of this process, so instead, I used to go to listing appointments and I would spread out all the marketing things I would do. And I'd be like, we've got this, and check out this cool postcard we do. And I would do all of this stuff. And my listing package was thick because I was just like, I was selling value or selling my thought of what they thought would be value. And I wasn't selling a program or a strategy. So now we're skipping 3 important components today. We're not skipping them. It's only because we had so much time, but we're going through 3 components and ending up at the 4th, which is the crescendo of the entire orchestra. So without seeing the entire thing play out, you're probably going to be like, I don't understand some of these things, but I did want to talk closing techniques and closing practices. But this agreement, this one-page freedom agreement, gave us the ability to have more trust at the time when it mattered most, right before they picked up that pen. It made it simple, and it took about 20 minutes per listing appointment away from me, right? I was going from having to now do an hour and 20-minute appointment to an hour, and I'm just using vague numbers, right? 40 minutes from 60 minutes. So this is why it's so critical. Now, You saw the warning light earlier. Check with your local broker. They might even tell you, no, you really can't do this or you can't do that. I would always check with an attorney. A lot of times managing brokers, and I love you managing brokers, tell us no because they did things a certain type of way since dinosaurs roamed the earth. The game has changed, right? The evolution of real estate has been changing for a long time. So I want to make sure we talked about that devil. You got to shake that devil off your shoulder and go, I'm not going to listen to you. Limited thinking. Can I and should I reduce the friction in my listing process and have a one-page onboarding agreement? You'll have to make that choice for yourself. Yes, exactly. Yeah, we are selling a program, a strategy, not us, not our resume. You can include that if you have a great resume, that's great. But we're not selling Matterport videos. We're not selling, I do this. And then because when that happens, it becomes very a la carte. And then that's where they go, well, I don't really care about the postcards. So can we do 2%? Can we drop your service fee down to, nothing, right? So that's in a whole nother class with all the other three components. So let's talk closing. Let's talk about this awesome document. So we're going to share this with you. We come from a place of complete abundance. It's one of our core values. So many helped me along the way. Again, only thing on this is the Sold in 65 logo, and our Sold in 65 program is copyrighted to our Elite Home Partners real estate team. So you cannot call it Sold in 65. You can put your logo on it. You can change the verbiage around a little bit, but this is copyrighted to ours. But again, we stole it from someone else, not the Sold in 65, the concept, and then we kept improving it. We thought commit to sell. Maybe you like that better than onboarding agreement. We liked onboarding agreement because we're onboarding you. Welcome to our new gym. We're just going to onboard you into our facility. So let's take a walk on through. It's just a lot nicer. It's softer, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we're going to get you all of this. Not a worry. Anna will put instructions on where to locate it. Now, there's three big components of this document. All right. Number one, we're going to deliver 100% satisfaction guarantee. Now, if you're not delivering 100% guarantee, another decision you're going to need to make in your real estate business. Every listing we take, we have 100% satisfaction guarantee that any time you can cancel the agreement unless we're under contract. And we have a sales conversation document that I will show you that explains how to do that conversation. And it makes you have integrity. It puts your money where your mouth is. You now, if you're competing against other agents going, well, you see, John and Susie, that what most agents out there do is they lock you into a 6-month, 12-month agreement because they're gonna put a sign in your front yard and then hope and pray that somebody shows up. Now, John and Susie, I have based my entire business on integrity. So what I'm going to do is if any time you wake up tomorrow, you're not 100%, and I really wanted you to be 110% satisfied with my level of service and my exceptional experience that I'm going to provide you, I want you to cancel. We'll cancel the agreement at any time, unless, of course, we're under contract. If we're under contract, we're happy, we're on our way, we're going to be popping bottles at the closing table soon. Does that sound fair? Right? Boom. So there is practice with the conversation that has to come with this, but I'm going to show you how to utilize this one-page document. So that's a component of it. This also, of course, reduces all fear of signing the agreement. So remember, this is sitting in my Padfolio. I've gone through step 1, step 2, step 3, which is another, you can join our List Like a Boss or whatever it is thing that you want to learn that from. Now I'm at this final step of the close. I pull this document out. I've blocked every objection through my other 3 steps. So they're just sitting there. There's nothing we've already dealt with. Price, commission, days, marketing, all that has been covered. Strategy. Now this one-pager comes out. And remember, we as professional listing specialists have to read upside down. But not a lot, just a few documents that you need to master. Says, if you pull out this document and you're going to lean right up next to him and go, Yeah, so it says on here that we offer right? No, this has got to be, what I say to do is read every word on this document if you're going to use it, record it on your phone, and play it back from your memo button over and over until you brainwash yourself. It should be like butter, right? Just smooth, silky, you know it inside and out. Instead of trying to explain, I don't know, you can put it in the chat box, your area, how many pages is your listing contract or agreement, right? Instead of trying to explain 11, 19, 15 pages, right? We only have one document, we know how to deliver it, and we're ready to go. Now, the other piece on here is it sets the expectation and next steps. So you're going to see 2 paragraphs on here. And I know this is small. I'm going to go to a bigger version, and people are like probably squinting at it. They're trying to look at it. I'm going to show you a bigger version of it. And obviously we're providing it there in the chat box for you. Now, there is a lot of nuance on this singular page, and I'm going to try to point this out to you as best as I can and really make sure we dive in onto this. So when we're looking at this document, first of all, pro tip, and you're going to see this pro tip later, but I'm going to give it twice. We want to make sure everything is filled out on this document that can be before we pull it out of our Padfolio. For some of you that don't know what a Padfolio is, it's your black notepad, and there's a reason why we use black ones. It's because if you use brown ones, the leather, and your hands get sweaty on an appointment and it looks gross. So there's a science behind everything, right? So your Padfolio, you pull this out. It should already have the date on it, right? With your nicest handwriting you have. It would already have the address of their home on it. It will not have the price on it. You're seeing a fully completed one, right? I just wanted to get you a bigger version because you don't have the price because you haven't had that conversation yet. That comes in step 3, which is another class, right? So price would not be in there. Your services, what you charge for your services, right? And we're allowed to talk about this. We checked with Maps. You are allowed to charge as a selling listing agent a service fee. Is it negotiable? Yes, we can negotiate it up. Ours for our program and our team is 3.5%. Of course, it's completely negotiable. We can negotiate to 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5. During our other steps, we also explain to them that they can have an optional, that's a key word, please listen, optional buyer side compensation. Now, that's a whole nother class where we go through our net sheet. That's a whole nother piece. But now they've decided if they want to offer anything and then how much, right? And we have a whole technique to explain to them why it's such a value that they should have a very high optional buyer compensation. But that you wouldn't know that number yet because you haven't completed step 3 in the full 4-step process. So that would be blank as well. On this, at the very bottom, you would already have signed it, dated it, and then if you're meeting with one person, you're going to highlight where they need to sign and highlight where they need to date. I usually put a little X on both spots too. X marks the spot. I can't tell you how much there's nuance in this because every little piece matters because this is going to happen in 3 seconds when this document comes out. So this document comes out. You're going to go, okay, and our initial asking price, we decided to do $425, and that optional buyer side compensation was 3.5%. There's no set standard, whatever it is, options 2.5, 4.5, 9.5, 0, whatever they decide. You're going to fill that in, and then you're going to go through these 2 programs. So now, Joe, now that we have gone through all of these, or now that the step before this is what we call our onboarding worksheet. It's all the steps that we need to know: dogs, cats, showings, cleaners, all this stuff. That's another step, but so now that we have all the information, the next piece is we're gonna do $425 at the initial asking price, whatever commission for the optional buyer side commission they decided on. And then, Joe, the next piece here is we offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So when you sign today and list with me, if you for any reason feel that in the future we're not the right fit, you're not 100% satisfied with my level of service, you can cancel at any time. The second paragraph here just states that by signing here, You're allowing me to start our Sold in 65 program and allowing us to onboard you into that program to net you the most money possible. So all I need is a signature right there next to your name and where it's highlighted, a date, and I need a key for the lockbox. And then I sit there and smile at them, right? And just wait and shut your mouth. Do not say anything else. It's gonna be weird. They're gonna look at each other. They're gonna look at the ground. They're gonna look at the sky. You know, give me a shout out in the chat box. You guys have, a lot of you have been there, guys and gals have all been there, right? They go, can I run away? Everyone's natural instinct in this is we are taught from a young early age to resist anything, even if it's the right thing for us, because we always want to delay to going, I need more time to make a decision. I don't have enough time. I'm so scared. Right? So don't expect that. Fall in love with that awkwardness, right? When they're sitting there and they're like, my favorite is when they're talking about me, right? And they're like, so what do you think we should do? And I'm like, I can hear you because I'm 2 feet across a table from you, right? And they're like having this whole secret negotiation side by side. So silence is powerful. I love that. We just sit there, pen is down, right by, and remember now psychology. Well, you've already signed it, must be good. Highlight, ooh, it's highlighted. Ooh, there's a little X next to it. All roads lead to the treasure map, to you getting that signature. But it is a very nuanced, very critical moment. You would make 10,000, 15, 20, 50, 100, again, 200,000. I mean, some of you are doing luxury homes. Right there. You don't do this part at a high level. Now, some of you are going, I don't have to do any of this because all I do is center of influence business and I list my families and I always give them a discount on my commission because they're friends and family. And work smarter, not harder. You want a big business, a big life, you're gonna need to have more people than just your center of influence that you're doing business with. Of course, that's great, but we always want to get new customers. I always say this, if you had a restaurant that you only served your friends and family, you gotta make a lot of money. We want to serve as many wonderful diners as possible, right? So, and we want to get our value every time. This right here, you notice that the 3.5% service fee for what we charge, right, is standard. It's on there. It's not, excuse me, I'll remove that language, scratch that. It is what my expectation is of value. Now, is it negotiable? Of course it is, right? We can negotiate it up. But when this is done right, we're not even focused on this. When you see this onboarding worksheet, where's your eye drawn to? Even the way that it's big at the bottom, where the signature lines are, that's where we're drawing their attention to, not because we're trying to sneak around, it's just psychology. We've got this, this, and this, and I need you to sign here. And that's it. Now, people are going, in this presentation, as they do this, I don't say anything about the other documents that are necessary at this point, because this is what we're focused on, this. You don't have to go, so, oh, you're gonna sign this today, but then I'm gonna send you about 700 documents that you're gonna need to sign via e-signature. That comes after they sign and after I have that beautiful key in my hand, right? And I go, excellent, so now that we've onboarded you into our program, you're gonna receive by email some state required documents that I'll need you to review in e-sign. Now, I've included a little video on each one that has me in it and kind of takes you through it. But if you still have any questions, I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whatever you want to say, depends, if you want to have a life or not. I didn't, I just wanted to have a lot of money. So I'd say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you can just say, call me during normal business hours and we'll get it taken care of. Or if you're on a team, we have, virtual assistants, wonderful transaction managers, all of those things, and, they do it for you. But don't bring that up before you have the signature. It's all about this one pager at this moment, okay? Whew. Can we do this? Okay, I'm gonna go through your question here in a second, Michael, but can we do this? It's a yes or no. Thank you. Thanks, Chet. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. Yes, we can do this. Do we have to remove that devil off of our shoulders saying all the reasons why it won't work in my market? Yes, right? Loken's doing it. We did it for 400 some odd clients. Loken's doing it for 1,100, different version, right? You decide, you get to decide what you call it, but it was an evolution for us of how we got to these names, right? So the next piece is we're going to provide you with the conversations that explain the satisfaction guarantee. So thank you very much. So that's in the chat box now. We have our entire conversation book that you can use, customize, I don't know, not use, whatever. But so much of this is not what you say, it is how you say it and how you deliver it. And remember, anytime we're talking agreements, we go into our hostage negotiation voice, right? We are trying to get the people out. We're trying to get the person to not jump off the building. So tonality is so critical when we do this. We got to talk slow because remember, you're nervous and I still get nervous on listing appointments, right? You're interviewing for a job to get money and you have a clock kind of ticking on you and there's, you feel like you have this spotlight on you and you're like, right? And there's a lot of moving pieces. But if you're practiced and you've done enough of your sales conversation role play, you can breathe, take that deep breath, slow it down, and use these powerful tools to explain to them why they should trust you and work with you. Now, if I was like, just trust me, right? Very different. So I'm going to be in my Sunday slow jam voice, right? It's like, hey, welcome to Sunday Slow Jams. My name is Brendan, and we're just here to sign some documents. That's really creepy. Don't sound that weird, but right, we're slowing it down, slowing it down. Use their name a lot. Their name provides dopamine to their brain that goes ding, ding, ding. I like me. I like my name. He keeps saying my name, so he must know that I'm awesome, right? So John, Brian, Susie, Stacy, John and Stacy, whoever we're talking to, use their name a lot. Not too much where it's creepy. Again, everything's moderation, but it's going to make them feel trust. Okay? Now, that's a bigger version of it. I probably could have had that up during that conversation. Thank you, Anna. I will follow the directions next time. But yeah, this is a version of it that's in the book that we're giving you there for free. Now, our entire conversation book, you can scan this or click the link. Anna says some people like QR codes more than links, so we're giving it to you both ways. But you can get that entire version of that for you. Cool? So let's talk about, well, let me take a pause. Any questions or thoughts on this one page? Give me an aha, something that you're like, pretty interesting that you've heard so far today. Give me one aha. Come off mute, talk to me. What do we got?
Would you deliver the promise like before they sign, or what part of the presentation?
So what she's talking about is the promise. So the promise is delivered, and we have a whole conversation on that and a video on that actually. The promise is delivered when I'm in the living room sitting down with them, talking about their goals and building trust before I actually tour and view the home. So what she's talking about is a conversation that we use that goes, John, Susie, before we get up and take a look at the entire home, one of the things that I offer that's very unique is my organization, or if you're by yourself, I offer what we call the promise. So I promise that we're going to deliver the most exceptional real estate experience on earth. Now, during the course of our transaction, I know that we're going to have things come up and different issues that could arise. I always want to be checking in with you to make sure that I am delivering on the most exceptional experience on earth. Now, when we get to the closing table, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to check with you one last time that we did provide an exceptional experience. When we've done this, the two things I'm going to ask is one, that you would refer one person to me that I can provide this same exceptional experience to. And two, that you provide me a 5-star review on whatever site you want your review on, your Google business page, Zillow, wherever you're doing your numbers. Now, here's the critical piece. I want those two things. Write these words down. These are the best words in real estate. So would that be fair? So I'm going to ask you to provide me with one referral, provide me with one testimonial. Would that be fair? Soon as they say yes, they said yes to listing with you before you've even seen their home. Now, remember, we have 4 steps to this. We're back in step 2, but I just wanted to answer Tanya's question as best I could. Does that help, Tanya? Perfect. Any other questions or ahas before I go into?
Yeah, I got it confused with the other one.
No worries. Yeah. Sometimes we get confused. 100% satisfaction guarantee and the promise. 2 powerful tools used at 2 different times during the presentation. All right, I'm going to move forward. I'll leave some time at the end. I can see the wheels turning and all of that, which is great. So let's talk about objections. Now, if you did everything correctly, you shouldn't have a lot of sales objections because we blocked them in step 1, 2, and 3. What I mean block is we addressed them before the person could ever verbalize them. That's what an objection block is versus an objection handle. If for some reason you didn't do something correctly during step 1, 2, and 3, and now we're at the finish line and they have a question, right? All an objection is a scary word for a question. Now they have a question. Oh, and talking about that word, here's what some of us do. You give them the onboarding agreement and you go, when you put the pen down, you'll go by nature. So do you have any questions? Remember, in real estate, never ask your client ever if they have any questions. Because especially in the listing, I know some of you are going, wait, but aren't I supposed to provide like great customer service? You already gave them all of the information. If you ask them if they have any questions, here's the questions you're going to get. Would you do it for less? I do not want that question. Would you mind if we talk to our lawyer? No, I do mind. Right? I don't ever want to say that. So you're going to have to remember that you have this, dog collar taser around your neck, and it's going to want to come out of your voice, and it just shocks you, right? That's a big thing. We're taking them on a journey to eliminate all objections, right? So now, if for some reason, though, they still have a question, we have a few classics, right? I want to sleep on it. So I'm going to teach you one technique today that is a golden technique that I have used for years, still used to this day, that is the first, we're going to talk about checkdowns. So in this business, the first thing we're going to do is when we hear something, we're going to go into my number 1. Then I'll go to my number 2. Sometimes you might have to go to your number 3. What I mean by that, and you'll look in our conversation book that we provided, is you might need 3 different checkdown objection handlers to neutralize if they continue to say the same thing over and over. So let's go with this for a second. So I want to sleep on it. You calmly look at them, smile, and you go, Sydney, you do feel that I can get your home sold, correct? Don't say another word. They always go, yes. They always go, because I'm saying, do you feel? Now, out of doing thousands of these, if they ever said no, then if they say no, and I don't even want to talk about this because it's never happened, but I will just give a moment, then you go, okay, you don't feel confident. What do we need to revisit from earlier that I didn't cover? What do I need to revisit from earlier that I didn't cover? Now, I've never had them say no. When you do this and you go, you do feel I can get your home sold, correct? They always go, yeah. I go, I know I can. So let's do the right thing and put me to work today. I pick up the pen, I put it a little bit closer to where they need to sign, snudge it a little bit more, look at them with my goofy face, and I go, shut up, Brendan, right? And I just stare at them, and that's it. You do feel, now remember, sexy DJ on Sunday, you do feel I can get your home sold, correct? I know I can. Let's do the right thing and put me to work today. Put the pen down, nudge it a little bit more. Now they go, yeah, Brendan, we get it, man. You're great. I love you. You have a beautiful haircut. You're a gem, right? You're a rock star, Brendan. We adore you. But we never make a big decision like this, right? Like we just always want to sleep on everything, you know? We gotta really take our time. I go, I completely agree. That's why we offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. See, all we're doing today, Sydney, is just a handshake between me and you so that I can start the onboarding program to get you to Arkansas to be with your mother where you want to be. Now, if you wake up tomorrow after you sleep on it, you don't feel I'm the right fit, give me a call. We'll tear up this entire agreement. No harm done. In fact, I'm so confident that that won't happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my lockbox on the door. You don't have to put the key in it yet. I'm going to give you the code to my lockbox. If for whatever reason you still don't feel we're the right fit, just call me up and keep the lockbox as a gift from me to you. Does that sound fair? Woo! Boom! Drop that mic, get that money. We are about to go get a car. We're about to go get a new car for our kid. We're about to go have some fun, right? Blackjack table for me in Vegas. Well, it's really the craps table, right? But we're gonna go have fun because that's where it is. So these check downs and these conversations, now, right now, that devil on your shoulder is going, ill, I could never say that. That does not sound like me. And that is true because what you're saying probably doesn't work. Because we had to do this 1,000 times to see what worked and what didn't. I had a lot, thanks Jody, I got one believer, right? Right? We had to have a lot of people smack us in the face and say, nope, that didn't work, that didn't work. So this is about confidence. This is about calm. This is about trust and connection. We're not sleazy techniques. We're having fun on here because we're in our community of great real estate agents, right? But what we're talking about, at the highest level is that we want to, oh, that's what's happening. Sorry, I got a piece of technology here I didn't have plugged in that is dying. There we go. There, sorry about that. What you can't see in this whole setup is I have a teleprompter and an iPad and it's a whole setup, but sometimes I forget to plug my iPad back in after I've used it to sing karaoke the night before. So that's a fun story for all of you that you probably didn't need to know. Janet, we'll take a question.
Oh, thanks. I was multitasking here. Thank you. This is awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. Curious. So let's say they exercise that sleep on it. The next morning you get a call and they want to cancel. So do you attempt to turn that around? Or you just face value? It was 100% guarantee and that's the way it is.
Great question, Janet. Yeah, she's asking an amazing question, which is, I love that. What if they actually do wake up tomorrow and you go, you know what? We met with Suze, because sometimes they don't even want to tell you they're interviewing someone else, right? They think they're like secret interviewing other agents and all this jazz. So if they do call you up and say, hey, you know what? We really thought about it. We don't feel that we want to move forward. You're not the right fit. Now I just start asking questions and I go, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. May I ask why? Then they start talking. It's either going to be, we pick someone else, and then I talk about that person, ask more questions. So they go, we went with Janet from XYZ company. She just seemed to have a better track record here in Wash Park or whatever, neighborhood or whatever it is. And I go, okay, I can appreciate that. So it was because she had a better track record. And may I ask what the strategy that she's using to net you the most money possible? And I'll just go calm and I will dissect this other person. So Janet, I wish there was a perfect yes or no answer to this. It is trying to get to the root of what the issue is. And then a lot of times what I do, Janet, is I go, what I'd like to do is before you make any final decision, let me come back over and let's meet again to make sure that I've addressed all of your questions. Would that be fair? I'm actually gonna be in your neighborhood this afternoon at 2, and I will go back and see them again, right? And just sit down, smile, figure out what it is, because it's going to be the same things. You were more expensive than the other person that they interviewed maybe, and they're not seeing the value clearly. The other person they think is the neighborhood expert because she lives 6 doors down. Then you've got to use step 1, 2, 3 to establish why your strategy is so powerful. Because in our strategy too, what it provides is friction or frictionless experience, excuse me, it removes the friction. In our Sold in 65, you don't have one-off showings, no open houses. You set the price for your home. There's a whole series of things that go into that training. So it's a very powerful strategy. So I don't get a lot of those questions after the fact, but I love that you're asking that. So it's just calling it back up, being very calm, and addressing that. So I know we were at 12 o'clock. I'm going to stay on for 5 more minutes because I love listings. And so I'll take any additional questions as well. I do want to, if you have to jump, no worries. We appreciate you. In the chat box, if you found value, just say yes, and that makes me feel good about my life, right? If you have to go. But I'm going to jump into just a few pro tips, and then we'll ask some questions. Cool? All right, so let's talk about pro tip number 1 because it is very important. Do not forget to highlight the seller signature sections. Draw attention to what you want. Even if you're doing this hard copy and you're not going to use this agreement on your listing agreements, highlight, star, make it so it's just a focal point on where they need to sign. There's another pro tip that I'm going to add to this that's not a digital one. Make sure your hands are legit. People are like, my what? Some of you have very hairy hands. I've seen them. They freak me out. Right? I am a very weird person. I too have hair on my hands, but I, don't laugh at me, shave my hands when I go on listing appointments so they're silky smooth. So when I put down my beautiful hands and that pin goes down, they go, wow, not only does he have a beautiful Sunday slow jam voice, but silky smooth hands too. Right? I've thought of everything. There's nothing. I also don't have gross, dirty fingernails. I don't have all kind of weird jewelry on that says like, Ike Turner or whatever, right? That's a horrible joke, but you'll get it if you get it. Thanks, Janet, right? Right, so I don't have all kind of jewelry. I don't have 70, some of you guys, I see you there with your 95 rows of prayer beads, and I don't even know if they're prayer beads. I think they're like, just look cool beads. I don't know what they're called, right? Strip down, strip down. And for all my Italian friends out there, you know, you got your yacht pinky ring or whatever it is. We don't want people thinking we're in the mafia. We want people to think that we are respectable listing specialists. That was another joke, just having fun here, guys, okay? So make sure your hand game is clean, super, super clean. Ladies, I know you love My Little Pony things on your fingernails, and some of you have claws the size of, you know, it trips me out, right? This is the last moment, last impression before this crescendo of this orchestra is like, and then all of a sudden you're like thug life tattooed on your fingers and you know, you're putting your hand down. It's not what we want to do. Okay? So make sure your hand game is clean. Next pro tip. Sign the agreement before the appointment. Yeah, obviously we want to make sure that we've signed it. Now on our agreement, you saw that it said I'm a regional director for Sold in 65. Ooh, we skipped right over that. Think about what you're going to title yourself. The better and more important the name, the more official you look when they read that document. So remember the document at the bottom, it had my signature and it said I'm a regional director for Sold in 65. Every one of our agents gets certified in our organization and is a regional director, so they can use that title. But it's a lot cooler than broker associate agent. Psychology, 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 psychology. Cool? All right. Then the last pro tip, don't practice on your seller. Don't practice at the appointment. How many times are you practicing your listing presentation every week? I can tell you right now, it's not enough. Tiger Woods hits 1,000 golf balls a day when he was in his prime. His club had to touch 1,000 balls. That's why he's Tiger Woods. Are you going to be the Tiger Woods of the listing game? And not his personal life, right? Just his golf life, okay? So don't practice on the seller. So tip 4, A, B, C, always be closing. It's the time, Glengarry Glen Ross, this is the oldest legendary movie in the book, right? Always be closing. Think about that. Your butt is cemented and permanently superglued to that chair until they have a signature on that agreement. That's your mindset. You just don't go, I gave them the one objection handler, but then they asked me another scary question. They said, well, we want to pray on it tonight, right? And so they go, I want to pray on it. We don't do anything before we pray on it. And you just go, well, okay, you guys pray on it and I'll pray for you too, and then call me tomorrow. You do that and you just possibly lost $10, $15, $20,000 for your family. I don't ever want to see that happen to you. Get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Cool. All right. Last, like we said, this is all what we do in our weekly Pulse sessions. If you are not part of the Pulse Nation, this and more, I mean, this is just a smidgen of it. We would love to have you join us in our community. It is a huge community, tons of value where we talk about clarity, lead measures, scoreboards, and winning the week one week at a time. So yeah, scan the QR code, join. We have an entire vault dashboard. If you want to learn about golden letters, sold in 65, listing programs, how to crush it with expireds for sell by owners, all of that is what we do. We would love to have you join us. So other than that, any questions? Yeah, Chet, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for all of this. It's been really awesome.
Great.
I just went full time, obviously. I'd rather work with sellers than buyers. I had a question about prospecting. I don't know if this is an offline conversation, but you had mentioned about 50 contacts to an appointment. As of right now, for the past 2 weeks, I've been doing 2 hours of door knocking every day and then 4 hours of cold calling. Not expireds or FSBOs, just circle prospecting. Last week I hit 240 contacts. This week I hit 100.
Ooh,
But
well
I
done.
got to get an appointment for anything.
Is that the question? Why you're not getting appointments?
Well, I guess that's if that's normal. And number two, I know you had mentioned some of your programs. Do they kind of take a deeper dive into cold calling and better
Oh,
practice?
absolutely. Yes. So the answer, number 2, is an absolute yes. And we call it lead gen, right? Yeah, I mean, cold calling is a terrible, scary word, but yes, we focus on lead generation. So let's address this. This is a great question, Chet. So basically he's going, I'm going out there, I'm door knocking, I'm doing the activities, but I am not, for whatever reason, getting the appointments. Now, if he's having that many conversations, there's 2 things that are not happening. One, your value package for what you're offering is not strong enough for them to want to meet with you, or what you're saying to them isn't getting you to setting the appointment. So and again, I don't want to speak for you, but you're knocking on the door, you're going, hey, I noticed that you came off the market yesterday, your home was expired. I was shocked, or this morning I stopped by and expired. I was absolutely shocked that you came off the market. I specialize in helping home sellers in this area get their home sold, especially when they didn't sell the first time around. So I'd love to just take a few minutes. May I come in to explain our proven strategy? Right? So it's getting these techniques down that are going to change that value, but you've got to make sure you have a value package that you're proud of. Second piece that a lot of people challenge with, if you're doing a lot of conversations, a lot of door knocking, is you're not going to the right source. If I were to door knock, the only thing that I would door knock first is expireds. I would do the newest ones and work my way through all the way through the oldest ones, because with expireds, here's the problem. The best of the best can only get 30% of the phone numbers because data is only available to 30%. The others won't go to their door because they're lazy, because they won't take the time, because they're nervous, because they're whatever. So there's 70% of all expired listings aren't even having somebody talk to them. Be that person. Smile, right? So first of all, I got to go directly to the source. Then I have a check down. Every day I go expireds for sell by owners is my second check down, right? People that I know need to sell, that have told us they want to sell. Expired just had a bad experience. FSBO just doesn't know they need me yet. Then my third check down is notice of elective demand. So I get data that tells me when people are 30, 60, 90 days past due on their mortgage. I go by their house, knock on their door, and I go, I'm an investor, or I have an investor that would like to make a cash offer on your home. Would you have any interest in selling? Not, hey, loser, notice you haven't paid your mortgage in a while. Are you going to foreclose, or would you like to sell your house? We're joking here. That's just a joke, right? But we're helping people, but we're not making them feel like this, but they don't know that we have this data. So data is gold. So that's my third check down of where I'm going to go hunting appointments. My fourth is I'm going to call every single person that has a property for rent. We call this a rent by owner. I'm going to talk to the people that have properties that they're trying to rent and go, hey, I looked that you had your property for rent, but I did a little quick math and it looks like you have an extreme amount of equity in this property. It might make a lot of logical sense to cash out on the property now and reinvest that in several other properties or put it into some other investment pools. I'd love to offer you a free market analysis of your property. I see here from Public Records you have 4 of them. So John, would you like to receive those by mail or email? Now there's all kind of these conversations that we have, right? But I'm going through my check down. So now I've got rent by owners. I'm just gonna give you the last one and then I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna answer Tanya's question, then I'm gonna go because I said I was only gonna do 5 minutes and my team is telling me I'm blowing up the rest of my schedule because I love this stuff. The next check down I'm gonna have is absentee owners, people that own a secondary property that don't live in it because they're either renting it or somebody loses their job. The first thing that's going to go is that secondary property. Little Stacy needs braces. Do we keep the second home or does she get to have nice teeth? Decisions are going to be made, right? So they're going to make those decisions. So I'm going to go absentee owners. Then my next check down is that I'm going to do just sold calls. So we, meaning our brokerage, have just sold a home in your neighborhood. It's sold for X amount over asking price in X amount of days. I have a lot of buyers that I'm currently working with that we don't have a home for. I was calling to see if you might be interested in selling. Boom, 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 boom. So then after that, I do just listed. We just listed this home, same script, just different. Then I go to my past sellers and then I go to center of influence dead last after I've exhausted that list. So Chet, I hope that helps. It's just a lot of time it's value package and then are we targeting the people that are most likely to sell first? Tanya, and then I will bring us to a finish line.
So I was just wondering how you would handle an objection from somebody, like if we try to talk about sold in 65 and they already went through sold in 72 with another agent.
Yeah, ours is faster. That's just a joke because 72 sold is, anyway, it takes 72 hours, ours is 65 hours. But yeah, so again, I would say this is what I say. Just because somebody has a strategy or a program doesn't mean that they have the highest level of capacity to deliver on it at the best level, right? So I always look at it going, somebody could take, this is a perfect example. If you ever seen the movie American Gangster, right? It talks about blue magic. It's like, you don't mess up my product. Somebody can go take our program and go deliver a crappy version of sold in 65, but we have a team, we have an entire organization in a proven track record to support it. So all sold in 65 is a launch strategy that we've proven that gets you a higher amount of money in a shorter period of time with removing the friction from the experience. So John, Susie, you do feel I can get your home sold, correct? I know I can. Let's do the right thing and put me to work today. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my great pleasure to have this time with you. If I can ever do anything to help you, please don't hesitate to call or email. Have a wonderful day and have a powerful week of taking listings. See you, everyone.